lies on Christ. So many lies that when we come with the truth, people think that the lies is the truth and that the truth is the lie.
Who changed the truth for God into a lie? In English, Jesus Christ, in Hebrew, it's Yahweh Shai. So do or die. The immaculate conception is deception, along with the myth of giving gifts on December 25th. Christmas is Satan's clause, the birth of Nimrod, and not the son of God. To you was kinda odd. On the Passover, Christ was born in the spring. So now we bring the truth about the King of Kings. That's Black Jesus and not Caesar Borgias. And the facts can't be changed. It's all about the Most High. It's all about Yahweh Shai. It's all about the Most High. It's all about Yahweh Shai. It's all about the Most High. It's all about Yahweh Shai. It's all about the Most High. It's all about Yahweh Shai. It's all about the Most High.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Shalom, everybody online.
Shalom.
Welcome to another live class with the ISB HPK, the Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. I'm Priest Quatazat. Next to me is Priest Ariyah.
Shalom.
We are on our secondary YouTube page. Our just so brothers and sisters know, our main page got shut down from the live streaming. Okay, because YouTube is real strict and they're a bunch of haters. So they shut us down for a little bit. So until further notice, this is going to be the YouTube channel that we stream on. So make sure that you like, share, subscribe to this channel. And what we're going to try to do is, hopefully we can, after this has been recorded, get it downloaded and get it onto the other channel also. We can't live stream, but we can upload. So please like, share, subscribe this channel for any further live classes. Okay, we're located here at 8524 South Braeswood Boulevard, Houston, Texas, 77071. Our class times are Monday, Wednesday, 7 to 10 p.m., Friday from 6 to 9 p.m., Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m., and we have our ISB HBK Kids channel where we do kids class on Sunday from 12 to 1. Okay, those are pre-recorded and uploaded. If you're in the Houston metropolitan area, come on down for any one of those class times. We'd love to have you. On Sundays, bring your kids so they can learn the word of the Most High. If you are in the San Antonio area, the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, or the Austin, Texas areas, we do have class. Hit us up and we will get you all the information for those 3 cities. Okay? We also, we did Feast of Trumpets. We had a beautiful Feast of Trumpets last week. Barakatah Yahweh. It was a beautiful gathering. Everybody got together, blew some trumpets, congregated, ate some food. So another high holy day accomplished. Okay, and in the books, in the record books. We do have a business at First Colony Mall, right in front of Victoria's Secret. So if you're in Houston and you want to go down to Sugarland, First Colony Mall, it's called American Eastern Oils. We sell your aromatherapeutic, fragrant body oils, all natural soaps, body butters, things like that. That's what helps support the school. That's what mainly what keeps the school bills paid and things like that. So if you want to help out that way, you can do that. Put my phone on silent here. Look out for our Blog Talk radio show brought to you by the brothers in San Antonio and New Mexico, the brother Mashaba. It's blogtalkradio.com/Mashaba every Tuesday and Thursday from about 9:30 to about 1, 9:30 to 12. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, Sabbath. They do that also. Okay? Look out for our cable show, The Hidden Truth. Okay, we put up our first video dealing with the tribe of Issachar and proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are the Israelites. I mean, we already knew it. But for a lot of people out there in social media land, you know, you got to prove that. You got to prove it because a lot of confusion about the 9.5 tribes. So be on the lookout for that show. We've uploaded it. We've got it all over the airwaves, Facebook, whatever social media can take it, we put it on there. So when you get a chance to watch that, like, share, subscribe that video. Let's get that out to as many people as possible. Look out for our next show coming up. We're going to be going in on these, on the topic is basically birthdays. Okay, so we got some that's real informative and in-depth information on birthdays. So be on the lookout for that. Please like, share, subscribe both channels. This channel, which is Kazak at ISBHBK, and then also our ISBHBK channel. Please like, and our ISBHBK Kids channel, our 5 Minutes of Wisdom channel. So please like, share, subscribe these channels. Okay, again, YouTube, they're trying to delete videos and they don't want this word to go out. Bottom line, if you talk about anything that goes against the agenda of America, if you talk about anything that goes against this agenda, they're going to shut you down. So, if there's a video online that you like of ours, make sure you download it. Because more than likely we going in, and they're going to be deleting a lot of the videos. You're going to see it a lot more with a lot of these schools. A lot of people that post on YouTube, they're already complaining that their videos are being taken down and deleted. So YouTube is stepping up their security system as far as what they allow on the site. And, we're going to stand up for righteousness. And our righteousness is not their righteousness, so they're not going to stand for us speaking up against the homosexuality, the pedophilia, all the negatives that this society promotes. They don't want nobody speaking up about that or speaking against it. So again, if there's a video that you like, download it, subscribe, share it. That way it's there. Israelware, they're back taking orders. So for the Facebook viewers and for non-Facebook viewers, you can go on Facebook, search Israelware, and you can get armbands, headbands, shirts, fringe, pants, fringe, pocketbooks made. Whatever they can sew, you can get it. All right, so just hit them up on Facebook. To reach a teacher, you can reach Priest Kazakia at 281-707-2737. You can reach me, Priest Kazak, at 303-557-8979. Please text only during class. Other than that, you can text, hit us up after class. For any other concerns, you can email us at isbhbk@isbhbk.org for your emails, okay? For donations, any form of donation is welcome and needed. Any form of contribution is welcome. Obviously, school supplies and dictionaries and notebooks and apocryphers and Bibles, those are all needed, okay? Because truthfully, when we get them, whatever new brothers and sisters come into the building that don't have one, we distribute those to them, okay? So we're asking whatever you can give by way of supplies, highlighters, pens, papers, computers, whatever you can give is much welcome and much needed. For any monetary donations, the Wells Fargo account number, as well as the Google Wallet information is on the screen. Okay, so again, for all those that's been giving, for all those that's given in the past, we definitely appreciate it. Listen, y'all are helping this school stay open, okay? So if there's something that you can take away from it, the Most High is going to bless, but he's also allowing the knowledge to keep going out, okay? So you're helping by, if these doors shut, the word don't get out there. So our people, you're going to see after a while, after all the, I don't need a camp and I don't need a school and all these things start happening, we're going to see after time that a lot of brothers and sisters are going to be flocking to these Israelite schools. And what we need to start doing is making the Israelite schools, these got to be the staple of the community. It's just like back in the day, way back in the day when the church was like the pillar of the community, where you can go to the church if you were homeless, they put you up somewhere to sleep. If you was hungry, you go there and get a meal. If you needed some clothes, the church did everything. They housed people, they did food drives, they did clothing drives, right? That's when the church wasn't selfish as hell and molesting your kids and teaching you false doctrine. But now the church is more geared towards taking from you and not really giving back. They're about that tax break. They're about that 501(c)(3). They're about, and you got to see why, because the government is like, listen, you can only teach certain things if you want this tax break, and you can only do certain things. You can't help the homeless, you can't feed them, can't clothe them. So what we need to be doing and looking at as the time draws nearer, and this place gets more wicked, and they molest more kids in church, and they do more wickedness in church, and teach more against the scriptures than for the scriptures, we need to be saying, listen, the Israelite school needs to become the new pillar of the community. That needs to be the place where if a brother is homeless, we can take him in, get him cleaned up. That should be the place where you ain't got no clothes, or you ain't got no food. You can walk to one of these Israelite schools, no matter what the acronym is. You can walk into one of these schools and say, listen, I'm hungry, and somebody can hand you some food. That's what we should be working towards as a nation, is making the schools, the Israelite schools, the pillar of the Black and Hispanic Native Indian community. Not the damn liquor store. The liquor store shouldn't be the pillar of the community. Okay? You know, it should be where the knowledge is flowing from. Again, the scriptures say rehearse the righteous acts. You know, so all we're doing, and I know I'm being long-winded, basically what I'm saying is thank you for the donations, because you're helping the doors to stay open. That way when people do roll up and they need something, if we got it, they got it. Bottom line.
Right, because the scriptures talk about money is a different defense, and that's what we need in order to keep that process going.
Right. So we'll open it up for any questions. I know that was my long dissertation, but it got to be said. We'll open it up for questions. That's it for announcements. Again, the water for everybody that's given. For the vow, I know we got that. The water, and you know, again, keep giving. The Most High definitely will. Again, you reap what you sow. You sow good. You sow to the carnal. You'll reap the carnal. You sow to the spirit. You reap the spirit in some way, shape, or form. So the water, again, we'll keep doing our job. We'll keep doing our job as teachers and leaders and builders, you know, but we got to have a place to be able to have people to come in and be led and be built. All right, so we'll take questions off any topic. You know, we'll take questions on any topic. If we have no questions, then what we'll do, we'll just go right into class. We got another good class set up. Probably gonna be a 2 or 3-parter, right? So we'll wait for questions. We got any questions in the building? Any of the righteous brothers and sisters in the building got any questions? Yeah, the brother online, Mustafa, sorry. Yeah, it's gonna be that spiritual famine. It's gonna come a time, man, where they're gonna be shutting down schools. They're gonna be shutting down, they're already shutting down YouTubes and deleting videos. So yeah, they're gonna get to a point where they will be trying to get rid of schools, but it's up to us to keep it going. It's up to us to be the ones that, the word ain't gonna stop. The word of the Most High does not go out void, right? It don't go out void no matter how you teach it and where you teach it. It don't matter. Whether you're in a building, whether you're in a basement. It don't go out void, but we know that there's gonna become a time where our people need somewhere to flock. They're gonna need somewhere to go to for that protection against all the things that's gonna be happening out in the street. Yeah, what do you say? I told my rib I had a vision of a school that will provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner, showers, haircuts, and the truth. Yeah, that's the level that we should be getting to. And I'm sure there's some schools out there that are doing that, but we all gotta be on the same page. Where we're literally the pillar and the backbone of the community. Because it's one thing, we shouldn't be the ones where the community hates us. We got the wisdom. So the community should be looking at us as the true leadership, as the true mouthpiece. We should be the mouthpiece of the community. We should be the ones out there when somebody's getting shot. We're the one. Ain't no Al Sharpton, ain't no damn Jesse Jackson, and these fake, famished leaders. They got to be the ones with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that represent the people of Israel. So how do we do it? We got to keep a building, we got to keep a school open for brothers and sisters to be able to come and say, hey, I'm hungry. Hey, I'm homeless. Hey, I need a shower. Hey, I need this. I need that. That's what we're here for, to be ministers to the people. We're here to give to the people. So, again, I'm saying all that to say, the water, thank you for everybody that's been giving and just helping us through the fight. It's much tribulation. Acts 14:22, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom. And, I'm going to go here real quick. Just like it says in Judith 8, is one of our favorite scriptures. This is the school motto. 8 and verse 24. Read that real quick.
Judith chapter 8 and verse 24. Now therefore, O brethren, let us show an example to our brethren, because their hearts depend upon us.
Because what?
Their hearts depend upon us.
Yeah, see, the scriptures tell us that the brethren, in and out of the school, their hearts depend on us. Come on.
And the sanctuary.
You get the other mic. Read.
And the sanctuary.
And the what?
The sanctuary.
Yeah, it's telling you that you need a sanctuary. Go ahead.
And the house.
Uh-huh.
And the altar.
And read.
Rest upon us.
Yeah, all these things rest upon the ones that are able to bear some of that burden. So, again, I know I'm drawing it out. I know I keep repeating myself. Thank you all for helping, the ones that have been. If you want to help, the information is out at the bottom. And anything that you want to give, listen, is considered help. We don't care if you send a box of highlighters or a box of books or pads. We've had people send a box of apocryphers. We've had people send notepads. It's funny because we need to figure out who sent those notepads, because those were some nice notepads. We've been looking for those. They sent some real nice notepads, man. We've been trying to replace them because they're good when you take your notes, the pages just don't rip out. It's something simple like that we take so much writing, we write so many things down. We're like, damn, those are some real good notepads. We've been trying to hit like Office Depot, trying to find some new ones. So something simple like notepads. And I'm talking, waiting for brothers to put their questions in if they have any. Oh, question, okay. Deuteronomy 32:24. Go there real quick. And I think we're still in Deuteronomy for the Sabbath reading, but let's see. Deuteronomy. Oh, did the class link go out?
Hi.
Where should I not read two links? I didn't count. Yeah, the class link went out. Deuteronomy. Say what it was. Deuteronomy what?
32 verse 23 and 24.
Let's see here. Let's see what this chapter is dealing with. Read that for me.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 33. Deuteronomy chapter 33.
I mean, you can start at verse 21.
Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God.
Right.
They have provoked me to anger. And with their vanities, I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
Read.
I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
Right. So, read on.
Verse 22. For a fire is kindled in my anger.
Come on.
And shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. Verse 23.
Go ahead.
I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will send mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devour with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to see that. That happened back then. That's happening now. And it's going to happen in the future. This place will be destroyed with heat. You know, this scripture, when you read verse 21, he says, I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. We've been being provoked to anger with a foolish nation ever since we went into captivities. Ever since we've been put captive, the Most High has been trying to provoke us, but the foolish nation is Esau. That foolish man, that people that's not a people, he been trying to provoke us since then. Esau put us in captivity. What's the Most High trying to do? He's been trying to provoke us to wake up, using the so-called white man to get us back up on our feet. Who's going to rouse them up? Go ahead.
Start at verse 24 again.
Read verse 23.
Verse 23. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will send mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see that when you read all through Deuteronomy, that happened at that time also. But yes, in the end, and it's not saying it's an end time prophecy per se, but in the end, yes, that's going to happen too. You know how we went through that whole class, right? The beginning of the end. And what did we talk about? We talked about the teeth of wild beasts being part of that vengeance.
Right, because when you try to run from a bear, you run inside, you get bit by a serpent.
You get ran into a serpent. He says the day of the Lord will be a day where a man tries to flee from a bear, run into a house, and then he meet up with a serpent.
Right.
Right? So we know that in the end, heat, wild beasts, all these different things, the sword, these are going to be things that the Most High is going to use to destroy. But I mean, he uses that now. He uses that now to check the wicked, and he's used it back in the wilderness when he sent fiery serpents on us, when he sent fire down and burnt up a multitude, when he sent plagues, when he got 200 plus people swallowed up, when instead of smoke devoured them and then they got swallowed into the earth. So, I mean, when you look at certain scriptures, you could say, wow, that happened in the past. Why? Because Israel was off. That's happening now. Why? Because Israel is off. And yeah, in the end, it's going to happen. Why? Because Israel is off. The nations are off, and that's what's going to be the destruction. Oh, there's something to link. Okay, everybody's just thousand text. So let's see here. Please let us YouTube viewers need to do to. Oh, please let y'all know what y'all need to do to help. Listen, whatever you can do to help. Whatever you can do, if it's monetarily, if it's something as simple as pens and notepads, that helps. You know, we're in need of a few different things when it comes to the school. We want a new school. We want a school vehicle. You know, all these things where when you look at, and not saying that we want to be like the church, the church of today, but when you look at a church, what do they have all these things? Why? They say they use it for the congregation and to get around. We know we want to use it for the congregation, to be able to go to different places and travel and not have to worry about not having a vehicle. That's what stops us a lot of times, where it's like, man, we need to go over here, we need to go to this state, we need to go to that state, but damn, we don't have the proper vehicle, well equipped to be able to bring enough brothers. And if we got to drive 5, 6 cars, that ain't gonna be efficient.
No.
You know, so it's little things like that where, you know, a person might have a nice economy van sitting around that they want to sell for cheap or just write off on taxes.
No.
Or they might have an empty building somewhere that no one's doing anything with, and they want to rent it out or sell it. You know, it's little things like that. I mean, I'm saying that's a little thing, but a building is something big, but we need them. And you know, we gotta ask for the help, because obviously if we could do it 100% ourselves, then we would, you know, and not have to burden brothers and sisters with that. So whatever you can do to help is appreciated. Let's see. Spiritual famine, birthday. Yeah, the birthday class is gonna come. It's gonna come. We just gotta take that computer. We gotta get that edited, and we'll get that out on the airwaves. A lot of information in that class, just like the Issachar class. A lot of information. Hour and 45 minutes worth of just info. So then the birthday class was a little bit longer. Yeah, we were going in. So yeah, I don't see any other questions on here. Anybody got anything in class? I mean, if not, we'll go right into this class. 16 people online. Remember, like, share, subscribe this link, please. This YouTube channel, please. We got a lot of other videos on this channel also. Okay, a lot of classes on this channel. So we're going to be using this channel. I'm just repeating for those that just logged in. We're going to be using this channel until further notice. YouTube stopped us from live streaming on our other channel because we were destroying the gay agenda, and they got in their feelings. So, all right, let's go into the class, man. If y'all got questions off the topic, just hold them. Questions on the topic we'll take. We're gonna get into this class, real good class. What are we gonna be dealing with? Priests.
We're talking about
Priests. What are we dealing with today? Priests.
Yo. No, we're gonna be talking about the righteous seed and the Most High's elect that He chose from the foundation of the earth.
Right. So we're gonna go into the righteous, why they were chosen, and what they were given.
Right.
Right. To bring forth righteousness and I think we're also going to go into, because we got another part to this class that we're not going to get to tonight. We're going to deal with the righteous seed, but then we're going to come back and show about the wicked seed.
Absolutely.
Right, at a later point. So, yeah, for today, we're going to be going into that righteous brothers and sisters, that righteous seed, and that showing that the Most High had a righteous seed that He chose.
Right.
Right, and there was something that He gave the righteous that a lot of brothers and sisters neglect today. So where we starting at?
We're going to start at Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5.
All right, and I'll read that for you.
All right.
Everybody else can take their notes. Let me know when y'all get that. So Jeremiah 1 and verse 5.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm going to read Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5. It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee.
So before you were formed in the belly, before you came out of the lineage of which comes from your dad, the Most High, He already knew who you were. He already knew and appointed that righteous seed. He already knew who He wanted to be the royal priesthood of the world. All right, go ahead.
And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. Before you
came out of the womb, before the whole process of a birth, when they pull the baby out, they cut the umbilical cord and they wash him up. You are already sanctified. Sanctified means to be washed, cleansed, and set apart. The Most High had already done these things spiritually to you. He already knew who he wanted to be in rulership. He already had in his mind, he already had his kingdom in the way it was going to be set up before everything was founded. Before this whole earth was fashioned and put together, he already knew who his elect were. He already knew who was going to be in rulership. Go ahead.
And I ordained thee.
He ordered you. The word of the Most High doesn't go out void. He already set this in order. So all it's going to do is fall into place. Go ahead.
And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations.
So he ordained us to be a prophet. We were to be teachers as well as leaders and as well as instructors of what? Of righteousness. Not just to Israel, but to the whole world. The whole.
Go ahead.
Oh, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. He ordained us to be the prophets, to be the teachers, to be the example to the whole world on how to follow, and we were going to be the rulers of those people.
And he had a righteous seed. Just bringing it back to the topic, he had a righteous seed that he chose from the very beginning.
Right.
Because I mean, when you look at Adam had 3 sons. I mean, I'm just gonna give y'all a little piece. Adam had 3 sons, and there was Cain, there was Abel, there was Seth. We know that Abel was righteous, Cain was the wicked one, right? But then Cain killed Abel, so what had to happen was there was another seed had to be set up. I know I'm jumping a little bit, just giving y'all a little piece, but we're gonna see what was it that the Most High gave Adam. What was it that he gave Adam? Why did he choose Adam's seed pertaining to Seth and so forth and so on? What was it about them? So where we at? Jeremiah 1 and 5?
Jeremiah 1 and 5.
Uh-huh.
From there, let's go to Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 4. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 4.
I am the reader.
Again, because the reason why this is important, because we got to understand that our purpose in life isn't to do our own will. Our purpose in life isn't just to get this word and just to sit on our butts and be full of knowledge. No, we're supposed to learn this word, and we're supposed to go teach our people so we can be back in rulership. Everybody's always walking around up and down the streets, going to their jobs from 9 to 5, complaining about what's going on in their life and the oppression of that the man's always putting on us, that Esau and all these other nations are putting up on us, but don't want to do anything about it. The Most High, when you read in Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9, he says, I know thy poverty, and I know thy works. But we are rich. Why are we rich? Because the Most High had already ordained us and set up for us to be in rulership. But what do? Through our works, through our disobedience, through our not acknowledging the Most High in everything that we do, we got put in the shackles. We got put in the chains, in slavery. We got put into bondage. That's what happened. But from the beginning, this wasn't supposed to be.
Plus, you know why I like it too? Because what it does, it shows that the Most High created us for a purpose.
Right.
He ain't just playing some silly game like I'm God and you guys are the pawns. Like people try to say like, yeah, we're just pawns in a big game. Nah, we're not pawns in a big game. We were created to be a walking chessboard. We were created for a purpose. The Most High is telling us, before I even formed you, I knew you. Before I fashioned you in the womb, I chose you to be a priest. Like, we were chosen to do something. So, even though we were all chosen to do this, the job only came through a select seed. It came through a select man's seed, which we know is Adam, and then going so forth, so on through his sons. And because you got to look at it, Adam had 3 sons. Seth had kids. Methuselah had kids. Noah had kids, right? Noah's kids had kids. How come all of them didn't have the same blessing? They all, because you got Shem, Ham, Japheth, right? On Noah's side. How come the blessing went through Shem? The promise went through Shem, right? How come it didn't go through Japheth or Ham? And then when it went through Shem, it didn't go through all of Shem's kids. It didn't go through Ishmael. Ishmael is Shemitic, right?
Sure.
Elam is Shemitic. The East Indians, the Middle Easterners, they're Shemitic. But the blessing came through Israel. You see that? Through Jacob, through Abraham, Isaac. So we're going to see that, and we're going to see why, because there was something about, as we go into the class, we'll see that there was certain attributes about these men that they carried. They carried certain attributes about them where the Most High said, yeah, you're going to be the one that can represent me. I want you to be something, but guess what? Cain can't represent me. I think it's wicked. He slew his brother. He was the first murderer. How can the first murderer represent the Most High's righteousness? He can't. So it got to come another way. And the Most High always made a way. Even when you look at Abram and Sarah, and she was damn near 90 years old, barren. He was 100 years old. And what happened? They're like, how is the Most High going to bring a promise through these loins? These loins is dried up and old. Dusty, right? This womb is it's dried up. It's barren. Ain't nothing coming from it. How is the Most High going to make a promise through me? He did it through the handmaid.
He did, Hagar.
Through Hagar. And it still came back and blessed Sarah.
Right.
So, but it was all through Abraham's seed, as far as that part. So, I like that you got that up there. Yeah. Adam, Eve, Cain, Seth, Abel. From Seth, Noah, Shem, Abraham. Because you got to see, Noah had 3 sons. So, very important that we examine and see that this righteous, how did the righteous seed come about? So where are we at again?
Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 4.
Ephesians chapter 1 verse 4, and I'll read. According as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world.
There it is again. It's showing you before the foundation of the world, the Most High had already orchestrated how it was going to be run, how it was going to be set up. Go ahead.
That we should be holy.
That we should be what?
Holy.
We're supposed to be holy. We're not supposed to be like the filth that we see. We're not going to be in rulership and ruling like Donald Trump did. We're not going to be in rulership ruling like Obama or Bush or Queen Elizabeth. When the righteous are in rulership, there's going to be peace on the earth. The Most High, the scripture says, we say the prayer all the time, on earth as it is in heaven, right? You think there's chaos, you think there's war, you think there's crookedness and backstabbing going on in heaven? Hell no. So the Most High, he wants that same kingdom, that same likeness of that peace, that tranquility that's going on in heaven. He wants that set up on earth. And the only people that are going to uphold that are the righteous seed, are those who know the mindset of the Most High and how his operations and how his dealings and how his work goes. That's the only way that's going to happen. So he said this from the foundation. He hath chosen us from before the foundation of the world that we should be holy. That means we're set apart from the filth. That means everybody else is beneath us.
But what sets us apart? And that's what we're going to look at.
Right.
There's something that sets us apart. Because he's just like, oh, just be holy. We had to be given instruction.
Right. You had to be given instruction on how to be holy.
On holiness. And then not just given the instruction,
but you had
to be faithful and follow it, right? You had to keep the ordinances as they were delivered unto you.
Right.
Faithful men.
Right.
Adam had to be a faithful man. To do what? Go to that scripture real quick.
Acts.
No, faithful men. Keep the ordinances. Timothy. See, this was the whole purpose of Adam. And why the Most High used Adam was because he was a faithful man. Because, and how do we know as we go into the class? I know I'm just throwing scriptures out here, but as we go into the class, you got it?
Yeah.
Read that for me.
2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 2. And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses,
read.
The same commit thou to faithful men.
See, the Most High committed something to Adam, who was a faithful man. Read.
Who shall be able to teach others also.
And what Adam did was teach his sons. He taught his sons. We know that. We're gonna get into that. But that was the whole point. You teach your sons teach their sons, and we all just live righteous. But somewhere in that seed, in that line, somewhere in Adam's generations, we're going to find out that somebody said, I'm not keeping the ordinances. No. I'm not keeping the ordinances. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be rebellious, stiff-necked, hard-headed, doubtful, faithless. I'm going to do me. Right?
God.
But the whole point, I'm going to read Ephesians 1 and verse 4 again. This was the whole point. According as he had chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. So this is before the world was set up. He knew what he was going to do. He knew he was going to have a peculiar people. Before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. You want me to read on?
Right. So how will we be without blame? How will we be without blame before the Most High? By keeping the ordinance, 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 2. Keeping the ordinances as it was delivered to us. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 2.
Right.
And that thou and the things that thou hast heard among many witnesses, the same commit thou.
You're right. It is Corinthians. Yeah, the ordinances.
Yeah, but it's cool. The same commit thou unto faithful men. We're the faithful men. Why are we the faithful men? Why are we blameless? Or why are we without blame before the Most High? Because we kept the ordinances as it was delivered to us. Somebody who is faithful and diligent in receiving instructions from their youth up and followed that until their death. In the middle, when they had the children, they taught that to their children. When you read Deuteronomy chapter, our motto? It's Deuteronomy 6 and verse 4 on down. That's what we taught our kids. That's what we talked about at the dinner table, when we walked down the street, when we were doing our work, when we sat down at dinner, when we ate up, when we rose up in the morning at breakfast. That's what we talked about when we were laying down. You had to be diligent. You had to be diligent in the word, in the works, in the doings of this word in order to be that ruler, to be that holy, righteous ruler.
Just to be righteous, you had to keep a certain diligence about yourself.
Right.
Where we at?
From there, see now what we got to go into is we got to go into the purpose. What was the purpose of us being the chosen from the foundation, from before the foundation of the world? And
I think we said it in these first scriptures too. I mean, it kind of gave it away. The Most High wanted us to be a priest.
Right.
He wanted us to be holy.
Right.
He wanted the earth to be all holy. But this is going to further, just give some more info and ammo on it. What is it, Exodus 19?
Yeah, Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5.
Right? Exodus 19. We know when y'all get there. Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5. Let me know when y'all got it. I'll read Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5. It says,
all the way down to 6.
It says, now therefore, if he will obey my voice.
So this is the stipulation. You had to do what?
Obey my voice.
You had to obey the words that was the statutes and the commandments that was given to you. Not just in listening, comprehending, not just in knowing, but in doing, but in conducting yourself in that code of conduct as it was given to you. So you had to obey, go ahead.
And keep my covenant.
And you had to keep it, go ahead.
Then ye shall be a particular treasure unto me.
Then, at that moment, when you follow and do what was given to you, then you're going to be a peculiar treasure. You're going to be that person that's of value unto the Most High. But did it say equal to? It said above all people. That means we weren't going to be the average Joe. We weren't going to be average in anything we do, any part of way we conducted ourselves. We weren't going to be average. We were going to be above everybody. Go ahead.
Above all people, for all the earth is mine.
Because the Most High, He owns the world. He was the one who created it. This planet belongs to Him. In the same way the planet belongs to Him, the kingdom, the heaven belongs to Him. He wants somebody who's going to follow and be in His same mind. He wants that person to be in that rulership. He wants, in His absence, He wants somebody to be in His stead, in the same mind, and in the same judgment. what is 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10, that we be in the same mind and the same judgment. We all speak the same thing, that there be no divisions among you. That's what the Most High wanted. He wanted to know that if this earth is cool, when I leave, it's still going to be maintained and run the same way as I delivered it to you. That's what he wanted.
We're in Exodus 19 and verse 6. Right.
Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 19, verse 6. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation.
So at that point, if we uphold the standard and the structure that was given to us, and we follow that, then the Most High said we're going to be the kingdom of priests and a holy nation.
See, and this is what the Most High intended from the very beginning. This is what the Most High wanted. Listen, he said the world is mine and everything in it. But thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So the Most High from the beginning wanted the earth to be righteous.
Right.
He wanted this righteous example. But he knew it had to come through a righteous people, a righteous seed. So he had to choose one. He had to choose one. He knew that everybody wasn't going to be righteous because they have free will, right? They have free will to choose. So, but there was a seed that he picked that he knew was going to uphold. Were they going to be perfect? No. But he knew that they were going to uphold the standard better than the rest of the other people. He knew that there was going to be a standard about Israel, about Jacob, about Abraham, about Seth. He knew that Adam was going to have a standard, because was not Adam with all the other people?
God.
But he knew Adam was going to have a standard.
That's why when you read in Jeremiah chapter 17, it says the Lord tried the heart. He searcheth the heart, and he tried the reins. And he tries the reins. So the Most High, he automatically knows what people, what type of Adamites at that time, because we're starting with Adam, right? God. He knew what out of the Adamites, what individual was going to uphold my standard. And then from there, you had Abel, and then you had Seth, right? And once again, I'm trying not to jump. I have a tendency to do that. Then once once Abel died, he knew it would be in Seth. And then from Seth, you had the whole lineage.
Right. Let's not give it all away. Let's.
God.
Yeah, because we don't want to give it too much away. They might just pack up and leave after that. So the purpose was to establish righteousness on the earth. That was the purpose of the Most High choosing a particular people to establish. Read verse 5 one more time. Exodus 19 and verse 5.
Come. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant,
right,
then you shall be a special treasure to me.
Read.
Above all people.
Come on.
For all the earth is mine.
Read.
And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests.
A what?
A kingdom of priests.
Come on.
And a holy nation.
Well, how come he didn't say the whole world? Every person was going to be holy. He knew that we were going to be a holy nation. Read.
These are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel.
These are the words that thou. His might say something different. Oh. Go ahead.
Come. So Moses came.
No, it says, and these are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. How come he didn't say the whole world or every nation under the sun? Because he knew that we were going to be the holy nation. Go to 1 Peter 2 and verse 9. He knew that, and these are just like basic chosen scriptures that we got to show that the Most High does have a chosen people, and but these people came from a seed of the line of a man. They came from the line of Adam, but again, they came through Adam's line, through his sons. But what son? Read that. 1 Peter 2 and 9.
1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But thou art a chosen generation.
We are a what?
A chosen generation.
Chosen for what? Read.
A royal priesthood.
We were chosen for the priesthood. We were chosen to be the example on the earth. Read on.
A holy nation.
A holy what?
Nation.
Yeah, we weren't chosen to be the filthy, disgusting, despicable, whorish, whoremongerish nation. That was supposed to be left for everybody else. We were chosen to be holy, different, set apart, washed and cleansed with the word, with the wisdom. Read.
His own special people.
His own what?
Special people.
Niggas that he hates?
Special people.
Just mediocre?
Special people.
We were chosen to be special, but what was it that made us special? What did he give us? What made us a special people to the Most High? Where we at?
That you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness.
See, this is what we were supposed to be doing as a special people. We were supposed to proclaim. It says proclaim the praises of the Most High. We were supposed to proclaim his righteousness, his goodness. We know that Adam did it. He fell off a little bit. We know that Abel did it, but Cain didn't. And as we go on, we're going to see who kept proclaiming the righteousness of the Most High. Who was chosen and was like, nigga, I don't want to be chosen. Right? Who was called out of darkness and was like, nah, I don't want to be called out of darkness. I want to stay in the darkness. We're going to see that even Abraham, when he was called, pick up and go here. Pick up and go there. He didn't sit back and say, nah, I ain't trying to do that. I'm good. He said, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to pack up and I'm going to go. Faith. Read on.
God, that you may proclaim the praise of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Right, and that was the whole purpose. The Most High dealt with the ones that wanted to show the wisdom, the understanding, the ones that wanted to step out of darkness into that light and proclaim his goodness, proclaim his righteousness. From there, go to Ecclesiastes in the Bible, 49 and verse 16. So now we're going to get into where now we're seeing that what men did he choose to do this? We know he chose a nation, but how did we get to the point where a whole nation was chosen? Well, we know that he had to choose particular and select men. So where did it start? What was the beginning? What was the beginning of this royal priesthood, this royal line, this righteous seed? Where did it start? Ecclesiasticus
in the Apocrypha.
49 and 16. Where did it start? Who did it start with? Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the class. You know, the first block was just to show that the Most High had a chosen. He had a chosen lineage. He had a chosen seed. Now we're going to get into show how did it come about. So where we at?
Ecclesiastes chapter 49 verse 16.
Go ahead.
Sem and Seth were in great honor among men.
Because why were these men among great honor in men? Because they held fast to what they were taught by their forefathers, by their fathers, by their grandparents. That's why these men were mentioned, and that's why they were held in honor among men. Go ahead.
And so was Adam above every living thing in creation.
But the start of it all was from what? Adam. Because he was the first that was above all living thing in the creation.
And what put him above? It said he was above everything. What was it that made Adam? It's like, who made you the boss, right? What made Adam above everything? Who gave Adam, and what gave Adam the right to carry forth this precious word and the precious righteousness and the holiness of the Most High? What was it? Go to 2nd Ezra. 2nd Ezra 6 and 54.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 54.
Right? Because we're going to see that Adam was the chosen one. Read on.
And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures.
So he made Adam what?
Lord of all thy creatures.
Some of the things that were on the earth?
Of all of thy creatures.
So he made Adam in charge of the whole planet. It said all of thy creatures. That means every individual that was on the face of the earth. That means every creeping, crawling, every fowl of the air, every beast on 4 legs or 2 legs, That's what Adam ruled. That's what Adam had in his possession. Go ahead.
Of him come we all. And the people.
Because after Adam, we come from him. That's where everybody comes from. That's the seed that we follow after. We're trying to get back into rulership of that. That's where we want to get. Aren't you guys getting tired of getting oppressed?
God.
Con?
God.
Hell yeah, you getting tired of somebody always telling you when to clock out and what job you can have and what job you can't have. The whole these other nations, this whole planet is supposed to be in servitude to us. But in order for us to reclaim the throne and our crown, we have to follow back and we have to get back into this word.
God.
We have to get back into the righteousness, into the example, and of living that way.
Read that again from the top. I like that scripture.
And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures.
You gotta remember, the Most High made Adam the Lord of all creatures. So the Most High ordained Adam. Go ahead.
Of him come we all.
Read.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
Uh-huh.
All
so
this.
The people that the Most High has what?
Chosen.
They come from Adam. We gotta be clear on that. It wasn't just some people that just appeared out of nowhere. They come from the line of Adam. Where we at?
Verse 55.
Read it. Let's see what it says.
All this have I spoken
Oh,
before thee.
That's it on that. Go to Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. So now we got to see what is it that the Most High gave Adam so that he can have dominion. What is it that the Most High gave Adam above all the other people, where now he's ordained Lord of the earth? What is it? Go to Genesis 2 and 7.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 7.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground.
Read.
And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life.
You breathe into him what?
The breath of life.
Come on.
And man became a living being.
Oh, your Bible says something a little different. Living soul. Right, so he formed Adam, and then he gave him the breath of life. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 7 verse 22. And without trying to make this a Genesis breakdown class, trying to see what is it that Adam had that everyone else didn't get. Well, we know that he gave Adam wisdom. Read that. Wisdom of Solomon 7 verse 22.
Come, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 22.
Go ahead.
For wisdom, which is the worker of all things, taught me.
Right. See, this is what taught Adam. It was wisdom. How can you be Lord over something if you don't know how to be a Lord? How can you rule over something if you don't know how to rule? So wisdom taught Adam. Jump down to verse 25.
Verse 25. For she is the breath of the power of God.
Speaking of wisdom, wisdom is the breath and the power of the Most High. Go ahead.
And a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty.
Right. The wisdom is the pure influence. This is what influenced Adam and gave him rulership and dominion. In turn, made him Lord over everything. He was able to name animals, and that's going to be an ant. That's going to be a cat. That's going to be a lion. Go ahead.
Therefore, can no defiled thing fall into her.
Right. So the wisdom is the pure influence from the Most High. To do what? To be able to have rulership and dominion over the earth. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 8 and verse 1.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 1. Wisdom reacheth from one end to another.
And we got to go here to show what wisdom does, because wisdom does have characteristics. Wisdom has a lot of characteristics, but dealing with this dominion and dealing with this rulership and lordship and why the Most High gave it to Adam and how it was supposed to bring forth righteousness, we got to see. It says wisdom does what?
Wisdom reaches from one end to another mightily.
Read.
And sweetly doeth she order all things.
Wait, wisdom does what?
Sweetly doeth she
why it said wisdom is the work. In Wisdom of Solomon 7:22, it says wisdom is the worker of all things, but it's of all things righteous.
God.
The wisdom of wickedness is not wisdom.
God.
So that's why it comes back and says, therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. So wisdom doesn't deal with anything unrighteous. So now we're understanding that for the righteous seed to come about, what did they always have to operate in?
Righteousness. Pure mindset.
Which is what?
Wisdom.
Which is wisdom. It says wisdom goeth from one end of the earth to another. So when a man left one part of the earth, when Abram left Ur Chaldees and went on his journey, did he leave wisdom behind him? He's like, yeah, I got wisdom here, but I'm going to go over here and just be a brute beast animal because nobody knows me. Right? No, it didn't work like that. He had to roll with wisdom because wisdom goes from one end of the earth. And it says, read verse 8 again. Verse 8 and verse 1.
Wisdom reacheth from one end to another mightily.
Read.
And sweetly doeth she order all things.
Yeah, and it sweetly orders everything. So all these righteous men, from Adam all the way through to Yahushua, they use wisdom to order their household and their affairs. You know, we went over the whole class with Joseph, and we examined Joseph's life and the integrity of Joseph. But what did he really operate in? He operated in the spirit of wisdom, knowing when to talk, when not to talk, how to move around different nations.
God.
He had the wisdom. He didn't just leave out of his father's house and become an animal, brute beast. He didn't get locked up and just lose his damn mind. He didn't get locked up and become a homosexual. He didn't operate in the Pharaoh's and Potiphar's house without wisdom.
Right.
He used wisdom to order things.
God.
He used wisdom to order Egypt in the famine. I mean, when you look at it, all the righteous men that went forth, no matter where they were, what country they were in, it didn't matter. It was always wisdom that led them.
God.
It was always wisdom that led them and kept them on that righteous path. Even David. Even when David fell, what did he use, though, to get back up?
Wisdom.
He was in wisdom. He used the wisdom to know that I got to repent. I got to confess. I got to repent, pray, fast. I got to do all the things that the Most High loves to be able to get back on the path. And what happened? He was considered part of the righteous seed that the Most High chose. Was David perfect? Think about it. Was Adam perfect? No, Adam wasn't perfect. No man was perfect except for Christ. But there was still those that upheld, as we're going to go through the scriptures, there was still those that upheld a standard to where the Most High could say, yeah, okay, I can use you. You can be an example. You're not so filthy that you can't be an example to the people. You're not so filthy that you can't be an example on how to get others better. Y'all understand that? Read that verse 1 one more time. I hit my elbow.
Wisdom reacheth from one end to another mightily. And sweetly doeth she order all things.
Jump over to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9 and verse 1.
9 and verse 1. O God of my fathers, and Lord of mercy,
read.
Who has made all things with thy word?
So the Most High is telling us, and Solomon is letting us know, all things were made through the word. We know that. Read verse 2.
And ordained man through thy wisdom.
And did what?
Ordained man through thy wisdom.
How? Well, he gave them the commandments, ordained them to follow a righteous path. You keep the wisdom. If you were think about it. If you're chosen from the foundation of the earth to bring forth the goodness and righteousness on the earth, and then you have the know-how to do it, all you have to follow the path. It's simple, right? It's simple as hell. But light bulb, bing. Now you got to think. If it was that that easy, how come Adam made a mistake?
That free will.
That freedom.
Yeah.
That free will to choose. That freedom to choose your path.
Yeah.
You see that? Why did David make a mistake? Why did all the righteous kings of Israel make mistakes? Why?
They didn't use wisdom.
They didn't use, they stopped. Why? Even Solomon. How did Solomon fall?
Stop using wisdom.
I've been reading a lot of Solomon lately. I've been really in there, and it's funny because me and Kazakia was chopping it up about Solomon, and just like, man, how could you have all that wisdom and still make a mistake and still fall? How come you got all that wisdom and you couldn't predict your own downfall?
That's scary.
Well, because it didn't matter how much wisdom you had, you still had to apply it
Right.
in every situation. You still had to say, okay, well, don't be naive and think that you're above a fall, that you're above anything, and know that let me constantly operate in wisdom, because all it's going to do is allow me to follow a certain path.
God.
That's all it's going to do. I'm going to stay on the righteous path. Go ahead, read on.
And that he should have dominion over the creatures which thou hast made.
So he gave Adam dominion over what?
Dominion over the creatures which thou hast made.
Verse 3.
And ordered the world according to equity and righteousness.
Wait, he did what?
And ordered the world according to equity and righteousness.
Right, so we're talking about this righteousness and order in the world and dominion. Right? So what did that come through? What did the Most High have to give Adam? We go through it all the time. He had to give him something for him to follow a guideline. He had to tell him something to say, this is what you're going to follow to be that righteous people. Because, I mean, let's be real. Did the Most High want any of Adam's kids to be wicked? He didn't want Cain. He didn't want Cain to be wicked, man. He didn't want Cain to choose wickedness. That's why he said to him, if thou do well, won't you be rewarded? Right? Is that the scripture? I think it's in Genesis. He said, if thou do well, wouldst thou be rewarded? He's like, listen, it's there on the table for you.
It says, Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. It says, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted?
Shalt thou not be accepted? He said, if you do well, you'll be accepted.
God.
So he didn't intend. Let's not be twisted and get it wrong that, oh, well, Cain was just created like that. No. Cain wasn't just created wicked as hell. Cain chose not to operate in wisdom. He chose not to follow a righteous path. And in turn, that's where his wickedness came from. There was a time when Adam chose to step off of the righteous path and do his own thing. Where we at?
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 3.
Read verse 3.
And order the world according to equity
Uh-huh.
and righteousness, and execute judgment with an upright heart.
Go to 2nd Ezra 3 and verse 4. 2nd Ezra 3 and verse 4.
God.
Oh.
2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 4. Oh Lord.
Actually, hold that. Go to Ecclesiastes 17 and verse 2.
Ecclesiastes, chapter 17, verse 2.
Right, so we're dealing with this dominion, with this lordship. We know that the Most High had a chosen people, and that he gave the chosen dominion over the earth. Then we're going to get into what was it that he gave for the dominion to happen. Read that, Ecclesiastes 17 and verse 2. And then Wisdom of Solomon 9 and verse 11.
Ecclesiastes, chapter 17, verse 2.
Uh-huh.
He gave them few days.
Read.
And a short time, and power also over the things therein.
So he gave Adam the power over the things in the earth. He gave him the lordship, the dominion. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 9 and verse 11.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 11.
Actually, yeah, Wisdom of Solomon 9 and verse 11. So we know we're dealing with wisdom here, right?
Come on.
Read verse 11.
For she knoweth and understandeth all things, and she shall lead me soberly.
She shall do what?
Lead me soberly.
Wisdom is supposed to do what?
Lead me soberly.
Wisdom is supposed to lead us in sobriety, lead us with a clear mind. Why? Read.
In my doings.
In my what?
In my doings.
Come on.
And preserve me in her power.
Yeah, wisdom was supposed to give you that sober mind to have proper leadership and dominion. Read on.
So shall my works be acceptable.
So if you stay in wisdom, what will happen?
My works be acceptable.
Go ahead.
And then shall I judge thy people righteously.
Come on.
And be worthy to sit in my Father's seat.
Right, so the whole point of wisdom was that we had the lordship and dominion and judgment in righteousness and in equity. From there, 2nd Ezra chapter 3.
2nd Ezra.
So y'all with us so far, right? Yeah?
Con.
If y'all got any questions online, ask on the topic, please. So we're understanding that we needed wisdom for this dominion that the Most High gave us. But where did the wisdom come through? But as we go on, we're going to see that the wisdom came through the commandments. The Most High gave Adam the commandments to be able to have dominion, to be able to judge righteously. He gave him the law, statutes, and commandments. He gave these things to him to be able to orchestrate and control and name things and place things in the earth and put things where they needed to be. Think about it. If Adam didn't have no wisdom, how would he be able to order the earth around? Order things and put things where they need to be. If Adam didn't have no wisdom, he'd be thinking that fish should be walking. Right? Or I'm going to just throw every animal into the ocean to see if they all can swim. I'm going to pull every animal out the ocean to see if they can breathe out of the... Think about it. He had to have the wisdom to understand habitats of animals and where things belonged and what plant can grow here and what plant can grow there and just little things. What to eat, what not to eat. What's poisonous? What's going to kill you? Think about it. Think about if Adam was out there eating swine. Think about it. We wouldn't even be here. They would have died off back in Genesis 5 of high blood pressure. And diabetes. They would have all had diabetes back then. You'd have heard Noah lived till the age of 5, died as a diabetic. Why? Because he would have been eating defiled. Right? Everybody before him would have been eating defiled. If there was no commandment given, you got to think about it. They would have just ate anything, right? It was there. They would have had high blood pressure. They would have had hypertension. They would have had diabetes because they would have been like, well, we can eat anything. And then what would happen is you would never see a man living past the age of 30. Why? Because the food alone would have killed them. The defiled foods. Because there was defiled foods. There was all beasts that were made. No one knew what to take on the ship, on the ark. He knew what was defiled and what wasn't. It told you that he took clean beasts and unclean beasts. How did he know? Somebody had to tell him. Somebody that was in a righteous mind, operating in wisdom, had to say, let me sit you down, Noah. These beasts are dirty. These beasts are clean. Y'all understand that?
God.
2nd Ezra.
Chapter 3.
3 and start at verse 4.
2nd Ezra, chapter 3, verse 4.
Uh-huh.
O Lord, who bears rule?
Go ahead.
Thou spake at the beginning when thou didst plant the earth.
Read.
And that thyself alone and commandest the people.
He did what?
And that thyself alone and commandest the people.
Here it is. He commanded the people. Thou shalt be fruitful and multiply. Don't eat this. Don't drink that. Don't touch this. Keep these ordinances. Sacrifice this. He commanded the people. Read.
And gave a body unto Adam without soul.
Come on.
Which was the workmanship of thine hand.
Read.
And didst breathe into him the breath of life.
Which we know is the wisdom that we spoke of earlier. Read.
and he was made living before thee.
Come on.
And thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted, before ever an earth came forward.
Right, so he set Adam up in paradise. Go ahead.
And unto him thou gavest commandments.
Wait, what did he give?
Commandments.
The Most High just left him without nothing?
Gave his commandments.
Come on.
To love thy way.
To love thy way. The way of the Most High is to what? Follow righteousness. The way of the Most High is righteousness. How does that righteousness come about? By following the word, by following the commandment, by keeping the law. Go ahead.
Which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest.
And we know that at a time, Adam transgressed. But we know one thing. Before he did transgress, he taught his son. We know that he taught his son the right way of doing things. He handed down the commandments to his son, to both his sons, to Cain and to Abel. How do we know? Because when it was time for the sacrifice, what happened? One sacrifice was accepted, and one was rejected. But you got to ask yourself, how did Abel know? How did Abel know what to sacrifice? Well, somebody had to tell him. And then what was in Abel to say, you know what? I'm not going to do my own thing. I ain't going to be a wicked Negro, rebellious, stiff-necked. I'm going to be humble. I'm going to be faithful. And I'm going to follow the righteous path. What was it? What was it in him? Finish that up.
Before ever the earth came forth, verse 7. And unto him thou gavest commandments to love thy way.
Read.
Which he transgressed.
Which he did what?
Transgressed.
Come on.
And immediately thou appointest death in him and in his generations. Of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number.
Right. But even in that death, the Most High still chose a righteous line. He still had a righteous seed, even in the point where Adam transgressed. The Most High still had a righteous seed that was going to come forth through Adam. So now let's deal with Abel. Let's see, what was Abel on? Where was he at? Want to get that? Go to Genesis chapter 4:25. And then we're going to be in Josephus, right? Book 1, chapter 2. Book 1, chapter 2, section. So go to Genesis. Actually, hold on. Don't go to Genesis. I want to go to this Josephus. We got to hold that scripture. Let's go down. That was my bad. Let's go to the Josephus real quick. You got it? Yeah, I'll read it. So we're going to go to page 31. So we're going to be in the Josephus, right? We pull this book a lot. We've been pulling it a lot lately. Israelite historian basically gives historical accounts that line up with the Bible. That's why we use the Josephus. So he's going to go in, and he edifies a little bit more on some things that are not edified on in the Bible. That's all it really is. Like what we're going to read here. He's actually going to go into Cain and Abel a little bit more and talk about that. So where we at? Section
book chapter 1, or book 1, chapter 2, and section 53.
Right, I got you. 52.
53.
I'll just start from the top.
Okay, go ahead.
So Adam and Eve had two sons. The elder of them was named Cain, which you go down. The younger was Abel. So they had two sons, Cain and Abel. We all know that, right? Very simple. It says, now the two brethren were pleased with different courses of life. You gotta check this out. They were pleased with two different courses of life. For Abel, the younger, was a lover of righteousness. So what does that mean about Cain? He loved wickedness. They had two different courses. I'm going to love righteousness. I'm going to follow the commandment because I love it, because I see the benefit of it. Cain was like, well, as we read, I ain't doing that. So it said Abel was the younger, was a lover of righteousness, and believing that God was present at all his actions. So what does a righteous man have? What was it that he had?
Actions, deeds.
Right?
Wisdom.
Con.
The Most High.
Con. F word.
Faith.
He had faith that the Most High was with him. First and foremost, when you deal with David, when he went to go slay Goliath, the first thing he believed was that the Most High was with him. Think about it. Now I'm gonna go. Now, why do we fail at some of our battles?
Because we don't believe the Most High is with us.
Because we forget that the Most High is there with us, ready to fight. We forget that a lot of times the Most High already won the battle. You just got to show up. But see, Abel knew that everything he did, the Most High was there. Because he was taught that from Adam. Adam showed him, no, son, don't do it like that because the Most High is watching. You're going to be punished for that. Do it like that because the Most High is watching. You'll be blessed for that. So he was taught that. This is like my son. You know, we went to a brother's house yesterday to drop some stuff off, and I guess one of the kids had some stuff on the table. And so I didn't know he took it. He's a crafty one. So we get to the mall, and he got his hands in his pocket, and he's like playing with something. I'm like, bro, what you got? What is that? And he had a slingshot and something else. And I'm like, bro, where'd you get that from? He didn't want to tell me because he knew he was wrong, first of all. And then I finally got it out of him. I'm like, where'd you get that from? And he said, I got it from such and such house. I said, do they know you took it? He said, no. I said, okay, bro, that's stealing. And the first thing I told him was the Most High is watching you. The Most High don't like when you steal. Mind you, he's 5 years old, so if I hit him with a bunch of scriptures, he ain't going to get that. But I got to show him that the Most High from the jump, when you do something wrong, the Most High is watching. He's watching you do something wrong, but he's watching you do something right because the Most High is always with you. See, this is how you establish righteousness. This is how Adam established righteousness through Abel. And that righteous seed, he let him know. I'm sure he did it with Cain, but Cain wasn't having that. So he said, and he knew that the Most High was with him. It says, for Abel, the younger, was a lover of righteousness, and believing that God was present at all his actions, he excelled in virtue. And his employment was that of a shepherd. Okay? So we're going to read on, right?
Continue.
It says, but Cain was not only very wicked in other respects, but was wholly intent upon getting. Damn.
Yeah, so he was just for his own pleasure.
So he was covetous as hell.
Yeah.
It said he was not only very wicked, but in other respects, his whole intent was on what? Me. So now when you read this and then you put the scriptures together, you can really see that, damn, why did Cain give the wrong sacrifice? Well, because he wasn't willing to give up what he had. The sacrifice of the Most High was to give up the first and the best of what you had. But there was a particular sacrifice that they had to give. Because what did Cain come with? In his sacrifice, he came with the first of his fruits, right?
First of his fruits.
And what did Abel come with?
He came with the meat.
He came with that meat offering, which was what was required. So Cain didn't want to go and get what he needed for the sacrifice. No humility. I'm older. I'm gonna do what I want. No humility, right? I'm wicked as hell, and it's all about me getting. So I'm gonna just give what I want. I'm gonna give what I want. He might have had the sacrifice and said, you know what? I ain't giving that up. Y'all see that where and you got to see what we're establishing here, and this is going to be for the next class, obviously, but that wicked seed and where that starts. But that righteous seed, how does that come about? It comes about by hearing the word, loving it, and then doing it. Hearing it, believing in it, loving it and doing it. That was Cain. That wasn't Cain, that was Abel. He heard the word from his father. He believed the Most High was there. He excelled in it and he did it. That's how you establish, that's how this righteous seed was established through Abel. Right? Do I need to read on?
No, go to from there, go to Genesis chapter 4, verse 2.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 2. And she again bare his son Abel.
Right?
And Abel was a keeper of sheep.
Just like the scripture said, he was a shepherd. Go ahead.
And Cain was a tiller of the ground.
Read.
And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord.
Right, so Cain brought what he had, which was the fruit, which we don't understand was wrong, wrong, wrong. Go ahead.
And Abel, he also brought of the firstling of his flock.
Of his what?
Of his flock.
The Most High wanted the meat offering, not the first fruit offering. The Most High wanted something more. Cain was like, well, I'm going to bring what I want, bruh. I know my daddy taught me. Because, I mean, what y'all think? He didn't teach him? Cain was the firstborn. So you know damn well if he taught Abel, he definitely taught Cain. Because Adam, why? Adam was a righteous man. Even in his fall, he still had the presence of mind and the wherewithal to say, you know what? I got to teach my sons the righteousness of the Most High. I got to teach my sons the commandment. Go ahead.
And of the fat thereof.
Right, so he did according to the law. Read on.
And the Lord had respect unto Abel.
He had what?
Respect unto Abel. And to his offering.
Think about it. He said he respected Abel. Why? Because Abel ordered his house through wisdom. It says wisdom is the worker of all things, and she taught me. So Abel was ordering his affairs through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High, which is the commandment. Right? He was going according to the commandments. Read where we at. Where we at?
Genesis chapter 4, verse 5.
But
unto Cain and to his offering, he had not respect.
Yeah, he didn't respect. I'm not respecting that, bro, because it's wrong. I don't respect that offering because you know what I require. See, the righteous is going to do what's required of the Most High. And not try to do their own thing, make their own path, blaze their own trail. They're going to walk that straight and narrow. This, you got to see, this is the beginning and why the Most High said, I'm going to choose Abel. I'm going to use Abel as the righteous. Go ahead.
And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?
Right?
If thou
yeah, the Most High is asking Cain, like, what the hell you mad about, bro? You got some damn. I wish I could have been privy to this conversation, because I'm sure it was more like, you got some damn nerve being upset. What is your problem? You know better. Go ahead.
If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted?
Yeah, if you do well, wouldn't you be accepted? I mean, come on, knucklehead. Bonehead. Don't you know that if you do the right thing, I'm going to accept you? So that means Cain knew the right thing to do, because it was there. Abel did it. Go ahead.
And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
So we got to really look at Cain. Now the Bible documents this as Cain's first offense. And I don't want to stretch and act like there's something in the scriptures that's there that it's not. But I think it's a fair thing to say that this wasn't Cain's first offense. That it was always in him to do opposite of what was required. It was always, it said it in the Josephus. It said that, I'm going to read it one more time. It said, Cain was not only very wicked in other respects, so there was other wickednesses that he did. Cain was wicked all around. So it said through the process of time as we read. So there was a buildup to this moment where Cain offered the wrong thing and then what? Killed his brother, Abel, right? But there was a buildup because Cain didn't operate with wisdom. He didn't operate in righteousness. He didn't care to. And Abel did. So we're seeing the makings. Nose itches. We're seeing the makings, the buildup, the building of that, where that righteousness started and through what line. Where we at?
Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother.
That's it on that.
From there, go to Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 4.
Right, because it's not a Genesis class, but we're just showing and establishing the righteousness and how it came. Who did it come through? What was the characteristics of these men? So we're going to get something about Abel that he had, and we said it earlier. Abel operated in the faith that the Most High was with him, and that if he did right, the Most High would bless him, and it built his virtue. Knowing that if I do wrong, the Most High is not going to bless. Right? Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 4.
Hebrews chapter 11 verse 4. By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain.
Why was his sacrifice more excellent than Cain? Because he kept the ordinances as it was delivered to him from his father. Because Abel also understood from the followings of his father that the Most High was present in all his dealings and all he would do. Go ahead.
By which he obtained witness that he should not see death. And translated
by which he obtained witness that he was righteous.
You gotta get a different Bible. Read that one more time. I'll read it. It says, by faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous.
Why was he righteous? Because he did what was taught to him. He didn't break the law. He understood what his father gave him, the commandments that the Most High gave to him, that gave to Adam, and that's what he followed. That's why he was righteous.
He operated in faith. And by him operating in faith, which is one of the attributes of righteousness, it said it was the witness of his righteousness. Y'all understand this, right?
Gone.
Everybody?
Gone.
Gone? Right, so Abel operated in faith, which was a witness of his righteousness. Go ahead.
God testified of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaking.
Yeah, the Most High testified of the gifts that he gave because they were the correct gifts. And by it he being dead yet speaking, because we know we read in the scripture it says his blood cried from the ground to the Most High. That righteous blood, right? He said your brother's blood crieth from the ground. Where we at now?
Go to Hebrews.
Let's go into Genesis 4:25. So we're seeing that the righteous seed went from Adam. Adam had two sons, Cain and Abel. It translated from Adam to Abel. But before you go to Genesis 4:25, we got to hit this point. Go to Genesis 4 in verse 8.
Genesis chapter 4, verse 8.
So after they gave the sacrifice, Cain was rejected, Abel was taken in. What happened? Read.
And Cain talked with with Abel, his brother.
Right.
And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel and slew his brother.
Right, so I'm going to jump back into Josephus real quick and read where I left off. Book 1, chapter 2, section 54. It said, but Cain was not only very wicked in other respects, but he was wholly intent upon getting. And he first contrived to plow the ground. He slew his brother on the occasion following. that they had resolved to sacrifice to the Most High. So they came to the resolution that we got to sacrifice to the Most High. That's what he requires, right? Now Cain brought the fruits of the earth and of his husbandry, and Abel brought milk, the first fruits of the flocks. But God was more delighted with the latter oblation, so he took Abel's sacrifice. When he was honored with what grew naturally of its own accord, then he was with what was the invention of a covetous man. So y'all understand that, right? He didn't want what Abel was trying to pull out of the ground. He took the first fruits, and this is going a little bit deep, but we know that the Most High had different offerings set up. He set up an offering. Bottom line is Cain didn't follow that specific offering. Let's see here. It says, whence it was that Cain was very angry that Abel was preferred by the Most High before him. And he slew his brother and hid his dead body, thinking to escape discovery. But the Most High, knowing what had been done, came to Cain and asked him what was become of his brother. You see that? So Cain killed Abel. He slew the righteous seed. So where was the righteousness going to come from? So jump back. Read Genesis chapter 4 and verse 8 so we can get it in the scriptures.
Genesis chapter 4 verse 8.
Uh-huh.
And Cain talked with Abel his brother.
Uh-huh.
And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him.
Right, so we know Cain killed Abel. So he slew that righteous seed. So the wicked is now there. So where's the righteousness going to come by? So now we know that the Most High judged Cain, kicked him out of the land. He went into the land of Nod, right? Abel is dead. So Adam has no more kids, right? So what has to happen? Now let's jump down to Genesis chapter 4, verse 25.
And Adam knew his wife again.
Go ahead.
And she bare a son.
Read.
And called his name Seth.
Read.
For God said,
check this out. I want y'all to listen to this. For God had said, read.
She had appointed me another seed instead of Abel.
She had done what?
Had appointed me another seed instead of Abel.
Who said this?
For God said she had appointed me another seed instead of Abel.
I hope y'all get that. The Most High said, for she had appointed me another seed. Now, let's not be wicked or naive. He wasn't saying that he did anything filthy with Eve and she gave him seed. What he was saying was that now I have another righteous seed to deal with. She had appointed me a seed that now I can work with. Because Cain is wicked as hell and gone, and the first righteous seed has been killed. So now Seth comes along, that the Most High said it from his birth. Remember when he said, I've chosen you from the foundation?
God.
The Most High said it from his birth. She has given me a seed. A seed for what? To bring forth the righteousness, to be a king, a priest, to bring forth and proclaim my word. Right? Read it again, verse 25.
And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth.
Uh-huh.
For God said she hath appointed me another seed.
Another seed. Because Abel was that guy. She appointed me another seed. Go ahead.
Instead of Abel.
Instead of Abel. Why did he not say instead of Cain? You got to think about it. Because Abel was chosen to be the righteous. Abel was chosen to be the righteous seed from Adam. She had appointed me another seed. It might as well have just said she gave me another righteous brother to replace Abel. But it said she had given me another seed. Right? Instead of Abel, who Cain slew. Y'all with that, right?
God.
Go ahead.
And to Seth, to him also there was born a son.
Right.
No,
that's it on that. So now go to Genesis.
Genesis chapter 5, verse 3.
If we're moving too fast, we can slow down. But you know, it's scriptures like that that when you read it, you're like, damn, Most High had a plan.
Right, because you don't really look twice at it, but then when you slow it down,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
The Most High it said she had the point to be another seed.
Instead of Abel.
Instead of Abel.
To do what? What was Abel's job?
To continue that righteousness.
Right. You see, so there was always a plan to bring forth. Because think about it, how can you be a righteous nation without the whole nation?
Can't be.
Right? So that nation had to come about. That nation had to come about. We know that he chose Adam and his generations, but not all Adam and his generations were righteous. Y'all get that, right? Right. Where we at?
Genesis chapter 5, verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years, and begot a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 8.
Right, so he begat a son in his likeness, in his image. What does that mean? When it says the Most High made us in his likeness and in his image. What does that mean? Who knows?
Just like him.
Right, but in what aspect?
In his majesties.
Right, but how? Through what?
Wisdom.
Through wisdom, through the commandment. He said, let us make man in our likeness, in our image. The likeness, the image was that righteousness. So here you go again with Seth. It said he begat a son in his own likeness and after his image, and called his name Seth. So, you know, that's even showing that Adam taught his son. He came back and he taught Seth.
Right.
He didn't just say, well, you know what, I gave up because this nigga was wicked and he killed the righteous one, so I'm done. No, he repeated the process. Right? His 2 sons are gone. He said, well, somebody got to be right up in here.
He got to start all over again.
He had to start all over and teach Seth the commandments, the way of the Most High. Now, what was it up to Seth to do?
Follow that same path.
It was up to Seth to love it, to use it, to have faith in it, and do it. It was up to Seth to do that and then teach his son.
Right.
And so forth and so on. So where are we at?
So from there, go back into the
Josephus?
Josephus.
The Josephus.
Book 1, chapter 2, section 3, in verse 68.
Section 68. Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back into Josephus. I'm on page 32 if you have this edition. Yeah, book 1, chapter 2, section 3, section 68.
Go ahead.
He had indeed many other children, but Seth in particular.
So it's showing you that Adam did have many children, right? But it specifically said in Genesis the seed after like the likeness of Abel. Go ahead.
Seth in particular. As for the rest, it would be tedious to name them all. I will therefore only endeavor to give an account of those that proceed from Seth.
So now the scriptures want to point out a specific individual, and that specific individual is going to be Seth, because Seth continued in that righteousness just like Abel did. Go ahead.
Now this Seth, when he was brought up and came to those years in which he could discern what was good.
So he came to the realization as he was growing up in his life, he came to the realization what was good. He's understanding, now he's comprehending what his father was talking about. It all started to make sense. Go ahead.
And what was he using to discern good and evil? He was using the commandments. He was using wisdom. Right? To discern what was good, became a virtuous man. And as he was himself of an excellent character.
What made him that excellent character? By upholding that wisdom.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
So did he leave children behind him.
So now when it was time for him to have children, go ahead.
Who imitated his virtues.
What did they do?
Imitated his virtues.
Go ahead.
All these proved to be of good dispositions. They also inhabited the same country without dissensions, and in a happy condition, without any misfortunes falling upon them till they died.
Why? Because they continued in that wisdom that was taught and that was handed down to them. They continued in the commandments that was handed down to them. So from there, jump down to chapter 3.
In here?
Yeah.
Chapter 3, verse what?
The first one.
So this is still in the Josephus book 1, chapter 3. It says, section 1. Now this posterity of Seth continued to esteem God as the Lord of the universe.
So this Seth knew within his understanding. He understood through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the scriptures, of the commandments that his father gave to him, that the Most High, he was the creator of the universe. That he was the I am. He was the Most High. Go ahead.
And to have an entire regard to virtue for 7 generations.
So it didn't just end it with Seth, it continued for 7 generations. All right?
So where we go now?
Go to just some side notes, just because we're talking about how Seth dealt and how he got that instruction from his father. Go to Ecclesiastes 6 and verse 32. In the Apocrypha.
So y'all are understanding this, right? Real basic. I hope everybody online is getting it. If not, let us know. We'll slow it down, but real basic class on just this righteous line and how it came about. We got 9 people online, so if y'all got any questions, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 32. My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught.
So in order for Seth to have several generations, 7 generations behind him that continued in the same wisdom as excuse me, the same wisdom and knowledge and understanding, he had to be taught, right? He had to be willing to be taught. Go ahead.
And if thou wilt apply thy mind.
But what is he applying? What did he apply his mind to show, to see, get the favor of the Most High? He had to show, and he had to apply his mind and the knowledge, wisdom that his father gave to him. He had to see that the commandments were there from the beginning, and he followed that path. Go ahead.
Thou shalt be prudent.
2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 12. Because one thing you got to keep in mind, this is what Seth was doing as he was learning, because it said in the Josephus, it said when he was brought up, he came to those years in which he could discern that what was good became a virtuous man. Why was he a virtuous man? Because as a youth, as a teenager, and from a child, what was he doing? Go ahead.
2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 12. For if there be first a willing mind.
He had to have first a willing mind. He had to be willing to be taught. He had to have an open mind, not distorted from what he's seen around him, but from what his father was given to him. With the scriptures, what the commandment was given to him. The wisdom that was given to him.
Yeah, and you know the beautiful thing about Seth, Cain, Adam, they couldn't be forgetful hearers, man. Because we know it was an oral tradition that was handed down, so they couldn't forget what they heard. That's why the scriptures talk about a forgetful hearer. So we're really getting a lot of different characteristics of the righteous, where they hear it and they stick to it. It ain't no, I forgot. Oh, I forgot that. They didn't come back talking about, it ain't written down, so I will break the law. They weren't on that. They weren't sneaky and conniving. Y'all see this, right? They weren't trying to figure out some way around things because they didn't have something written down in their face. They sat around, they talked about the law. Deuteronomy 6 and 6. Adam did this with his sons. They didn't come back like, oh yeah, that's not written down, so it ain't true. Or it ain't written down, so I ain't got to keep that. They weren't forgetful hearers. They heard it, they did it, they became virtuous and faithful in it. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It is accepted according to that a man hath.
Because the Most High, he's going to accept what you have. And what do you have? You have that acceptable mind. You have that willing mind to learn, to verbally learn. He had that willing mind to verbally learn what his father was giving to him. because he's seen the prosperity of it. He's seen that it worked. Go ahead.
And not according to that he hath not.
From there, go to Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 5.
Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5.
Go ahead.
A wise man will hear.
So this wise man, this wise young man said, he heard the words of his father. And what happened? What was the benefit of Seth listening? Go ahead.
And will increase.
He was in what?
Increase.
He was increased. He wasn't just increased in his stature, but through his lineage, through his generations that followed after him. He was increased. Go ahead.
Right.
In learning.
It said he could, it says, when he was brought up and came to those years in which he could discern what was good and became a virtuous man. Mm-hmm. So it says, so read where you at one more time.
A wise man will hear.
Right.
And will increase in learning.
So his wisdom enabled him to discern, and then he became virtuous. Just like the scripture is saying, a wise man will hear and increase in learning. So they were, again, we're going to keep saying it, they were operating in wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding on how to even be righteous. They were operating in that. Seth, Adam, Abel, they were operating this way from the very beginning. This is what the Most High wanted from, this is what he ordained. When he said, I chose you from the foundation of the earth, this is what he chose. This is what he wanted. He wanted a righteous nation. He wanted a holy people. Go ahead.
And a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel.
He was always, he lived and thrived off of what he was taught from an early age. And that made him able to stand throughout his generation. That's what Seth followed. Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 9.
I mean, it said that he had a regard for the Most High and the virtue of the Most High for 7 generations. So they had to have been sitting around talking and counseling on what was going on. The Most High did this. The Most High said this. Do this like this. Don't do that. So he had to attain to that wise counsel.
Right. Because just like when we read about Abel, Abel understood that the Most High was present in all his actions.
Right. And who taught him that? Adam.
Go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 9 and verse
9.
Verse 9. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser.
So once you give a wise man, once you give a person who's increased in the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, some more advice in the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, he's gonna be yet wiser. Go ahead.
Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning.
And that man's gonna be increased. He's always increasing. Seth was increased for 7 generations. That's a long time. He kept increasing every single year, every generation. Why? Because he understood that the Most High was present in all his actions. He's following the word and the commandment that was given to him. It goes back to what he had quoted in what we read in 2 Timothy. It was committed unto faithful men, and he was able to teach others also. Was that it? Con. Go to. So from there, go to.
Where we at?
Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 44 and verse 1.
Ecclesiastes chapter 44 and verse 1.
Oh, you did it like that. Okay. Go ahead, read it.
Ecclesiastes chapter 44 verse 1. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begot us.
Go ahead, read on.
The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning.
Right, and even when you look at this chapter and it goes to the famous men, Who does it go through? It goes through that righteous seed. It deals with that righteous line of Israel. Go ahead.
Such as did bear rule in their kingdoms.
How? Through what? Through wisdom. Go ahead.
Men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding, and declaring prophecies.
Right, go ahead.
Leaders of the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of learning meet for the people.
Go ahead.
Wise and eloquent in their instructions, such as found out musical tunes and recited verses.
Hold on real fast. We want to just get to the point. Jump to verse 11.
Verse 11. With their seed shall continually remain a good inheritance.
With their seed shall what?
Remain a good inheritance.
Come on.
And their children are within the covenant.
Read.
Their seed standeth fast.
Right.
And their children.
Why? Because they're operating in that righteousness. They're operating in that purity, that faith of the Most High. Go ahead.
And their children for their sakes.
Come on.
Their seed shall remain forever, and their glory shall not be blotted out. Their bodies are buried in peace, but their name liveth forevermore.
Right. Jump from there, go to Genesis. So from Seth, where we at now? So from Seth we have Enoch. From Seth, we deal with Enoch. So read Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1 more time.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast.
Genesis 5 and verse 3. I'm very sorry. Genesis 5 and verse 3.
Genesis chapter 5, verse 3.
Uh-huh.
And Adam lived 130 years, and begot a son in his own likeness.
Right.
After his image, and called his name Seth.
Right. So we know that Adam had Seth. So Seth was chosen to carry forth the seed. Then after Seth, we know Seth had children, right? Read verse 6.
Verse 6. And Seth lived 105 years, and begot Enoch.
Enoch is Enos. We'll be very clear on that. That's not Enoch, it's Enos. Right? And then it said, read verse 7.
And Seth lived after he begot Enos 807 years, and begot sons and daughters.
Right, so he had other sons and daughters. But it deals with Enos. Read on.
And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died.
Read verse 9.
And Enos lived 90 years, and begot Cainan.
Right, go ahead.
And Enos lived after he begot Cainan 815 years, and begot sons and daughters.
Go ahead.
And all the days of Enos was 905 years, and he died.
Right, so basically as you go through the lineage, you go all the way, and Enoch comes through the lineage of Seth. So we're going to jump to Enoch. So you can read the rest of this Genesis 5. It just goes through when you look at it, it goes through the righteous lineage of Adam. And it gets down to Enoch. So let's read about Enoch. Go to Genesis 5:18.
Genesis chapter 5, verse 18.
Uh-huh.
And Jared lived 162 years.
Uh-huh.
And he begot Enoch.
Read.
And Jared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years, and begot sons and daughters.
So Jared had Enoch, but he also had sons and daughters. Go ahead.
And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died.
Read on.
And Enoch lived 65 years, and begot Methuselah.
Right.
And Enoch.
So Enoch lived, and he had Methuselah, which is his son. Go ahead.
Enoch walked with God after he begot Methuselah 300.
What did Enoch do?
Walk with God.
So, wait, no, he walked in wickedness.
Walk with God.
He walked with himself.
Walk with God.
See, it said Enoch walked with the Most High, meaning that he walked in that righteous line. He walked in righteousness. He walked in the commandment. Y'all understand that? So he walked with the Most High. Go ahead.
300 years and begot sons and daughters.
Go ahead.
And all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him.
Right, so it said Enoch walked with the Most High, then he was not. The Most High took him. Go to Jude. Now, what was it about Enoch that the Most High was like, yeah, I'm going to use you? I'm not going to use all of Jared's other sons and daughters, or sons. I'm going to use you, Enoch. What was it? Well, we know Enoch was the firstborn of Jared, right?
God.
It said Jared lived 162 years and he begat Enoch. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years, wow, and begat sons and daughters. So it's not saying that he was the firstborn. Let me take that back. It's not saying that he's the firstborn, but he's mentioned first. So what was it about Enoch? Go to Jude 1:14.
Jude 1 verse 14.
Because we got to see, there was something about Enoch that the Most High was like, I'm going to deal with Enoch. I'm going to deal with him, this seed. Read.
And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these saying.
You see that? Enoch was the seventh from Adam, but he did what?
Prophesied.
He did what?
Prophesied.
Enoch prophesied in the name of the Most High. Now I know a lot of you Enochers, Book of Enochers, use this to say that he wrote a book. No, it said he prophesied. It didn't say he wrote a book. So, but it said that Enoch taught. He prophesied. He prophesied in the name of the Most High. He didn't prophesy his own things. He didn't go off in wickedness. He didn't just take the wisdom and run off and do something strange for a little piece of change. He said he prophesied. Go ahead.
Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000.
Wait, he said what?
Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000.
Wait, there is no Lord.
The Lord cometh with 10,000.
Wait. There is no Messiah.
The Lord cometh with 10,000.
There is no Savior for Israel.
The Lord cometh with 10,000.
Go ahead.
Of his saints.
Yeah. Enoch prophesied the things that were true. That the Lord, the same thing we read in Genesis, right? Same thing we read in Psalms. That the Lord cometh with the 10,000s of his saints. So Enoch was prophesying of the end. Think about that. Think about that. He was the seventh person from Adam. And he was prophesying about the Lord coming with the saints, with the chariots. You got to think about that. What did he know?
That's real.
What did Enoch know where he was prophesying these things? You see that? Go to Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 44 and 16. He what?
He knew what Adam knew.
Yeah, he had the mysteries. He knew what Adam knew. I mean, when you think about it, 130 years and begat sons. You know, the one thing you got to see about the generations of these men early on is that you would be with your great-great-grandfather and you would see him. Adam seen his great-great-grandkids. I mean, he's seen his great-great-grandsons. So what was he able to do? He was able to verbally teach them. It wasn't no hearsay. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't handed down through generations. You know how you hand things down generation to generation, and it gets skewed because I heard it, and then when I try to tell him, it's that game of telephone you play, where somebody tells me something, then I try to repeat it best as I can, but I mess it up. So next thing you know, Jesus goes from being black to white. Yeah. It's like, how the hell did he become white? God. Well, back in the day, my grandpa taught me that the Jews were black. Right. But then you got to be told in this day, the Jews ain't black, they white. You know, there was a meme on Facebook a while back, and it said if you let history tell it, and it had a picture of Tupac, standing there like how he stands like this, but he was all white with tattoos. It's like, damn, it's true though. If you let history tell it, in 100 years, if there was no pictures and documentation, Tupac would be a white man. Michael Jordan would be a white man. Like all these, if there was no evidence to prove otherwise, they'd be like, yeah, he wasn't black. You see that? But imagine if your great-great-grandfather was around to tell you the things that he saw. The things that he saw in slavery or whatever he was in at that time. Great-great-grandpa? Think about that. That's at least, I look at like my grandpa. He's 100 years old. Still alive. I wish I could go sit him down and just talk to him. He got 100 years of knowledge. Think of it. Think of that. Think about that. He has 100 years. It's 2018, right? That dude was born in 1918. What is it, 2018? Yeah. Dude was born in 1918. The 1920s. Bro, that's like, everything was black and white. Not for real, but on TV, right? The pictures. Sometimes you look back, you're like, damn, did they see in black and white?
They still use fire lamps, right?
Oil lamps.
Oil lamps.
Things like that. They use a lot of things that you would never see in this day and age, but forget about that. I want to know what the hell was really going on in slavery. Bro, they were close. He was 1918?
Right.
When did the Emancipation Proclamation happen? 1860? Something like that? So he was 40 years away from that. 50 years away from that. Am I right? 18. I might be wrong. When was slavery abolished? Come on, man. Never? Right? We know it was never really abolished, but when did Abraham Lincoln, 1863. Yeah, I wasn't too far off. So he was born 50 years away from slavery, so-called, being abolished. So imagine the things that he was taught and the things that he's seen. Even though it was abolished, there was still segregation. There was still things segregated. So just imagine being able to sit him down. I wish I could. I wish I could take that trip to Jamaica and sit him down and pick his brain and video record it. I would. I video record I just interview him until he just passed out. Or until he got frustrated and fed up. Because he got a lot of things in there, but imagine if his dad was alive. And I could go right to his dad and be like, man, what happened in slavery? Because he could tell me. And then go to his dad's dad and be like, man, what really happened? And so what happened when slavery started? Like, imagine that, being able to go to the source.
What was that boat ride over here?
What was that boat ride like? Imagine that. What was it like when they were gathering you up? Imagine being able to go back that many generations. Adam, Enoch, Methuselah, they had that. No, they had that. They were able to go back and just talk to the 3 generations behind them and be like, man, what happened? What happened, Adam? What happened, Grandpa Adam? What'd you do?
Right.
Well, and he probably sat there like, well, it really wasn't Eve's fault. I know I tried to blame it on her, the most I asked, but I was off. I'm not saying that's in the Bible. I'm not saying that's biblical, but just imagine the conversation is what I'm saying. The fact that they had these generations. So now it's easier for me to see what? It's easier for me to see an example of righteousness. And now it's easier for me to imitate. Now it ain't just, well, your grandpa did that. Well, nigga, grandpa ain't alive. But now you can be like, well, your grandpa did it and he's still doing it. Look. And you're like, oh, that's how you do that. Okay. Let me follow that. Grandma did it. A lot of people, we talk about our grandmas like Big Mama. Big Mama was different, right? We don't call them Big Mama in Jamaica. That's Granny, right? But Granny was different than Granny now. Granny back then dealt with everything, put up with everything, whooped you, cooked, had the house clean, worked a job. Well, she probably didn't work a job back then. My grandma didn't. Yeah, but she had that house right. She had all them kids in order. Everybody was always clean, right? And you go to grandma now and it's like, well, your mama's mama did it. How come you can't? Well, you know why? Because she can't see the example. She doesn't have that living example of how it is to do grandma things or mom things. But imagine having that example. Imagine Adam being able to talk to his grandkids. Imagine Adam being able to talk to his great-great-great-grandkids and being able to say, listen, this is where I messed up, don't follow that. Or this is where I did right, follow it. And them seeing the benefit. What examples, what else do you need? And then they get the wisdom on top of that? Come on. I wish, man. I wish. So these are the things, this is what I love, like when I read this, I'm like, these cats were so closely connected because not everybody was just dying off. Not everybody was dying off after 50. Like cats was living hundreds of years and then having children and somebody else was still alive from that previous generation or 2 generations back or even 3. Methuselah lived for like 900 years. 960 years. Think about it. Think about how many generations of grandkids he saw. Grandkids, great-grandkids, great-great-great. Think about it.
He was there to help out Noah.
He was there with Noah. Think about it. Think about that. I'm going to read this real quick. Back in the Josephus, I know I went on a little dissertation.
This part I just highlighted real quick was just to show you that because we were talking about Enoch, right?
Enoch, right.
And he prophesied.
Right.
He was a teacher. He taught, right? But at the same time, what did he get? Where did he get his learning from? Where did he get his information, his wisdom, his knowledge?
Back in the Josephus.
He got it from all the way back to Adam.
Right.
Check this out. Here's the deepness of Adam.
Book 1, chapter 2, section 3, last paragraph. It said, it says, upon Adam's prediction that the world was to be destroyed at one time by force of fire, and at another time by violence and quantity of water. So Adam predicted the flood, the quantity of water, right? He's predicting future destruction. Because now Adam was given this. The knowledge of good and evil. But think about it. Adam passed these teachings down. They were passed all the way down. So we got to see the beauty in having generations and how it was the Most High set it up for it to be easy for us to succeed. And he set it up for it to be easy for that righteousness to keep pushing forth and that seed to keep growing. But, you know, through the wicked inventions of our own selves, some of us got cut off through that wickedness. Where we at? So we read Jude. Go to Ecclesiastes 44:16. Y'all with me, right? I'm not going into space, am I? Come on, read.
Ecclesiastes chapter 44, verse 16. Enoch pleased the Lord and was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations.
I'm sorry, read it from the top again.
Enoch pleased the Lord.
So how did Enoch please the Lord? Class?
The commandments.
By what?
Applying the commandments.
By applying and keeping the commandments. He kept what was given to him. That's how he pleased the Lord. Go ahead.
And was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations.
From there, go to Ecclesiastes 49 and verse 14.
Ecclesiastes chapter 49, verse 14.
Go ahead, read.
Ecclesiastes 49.
49 and verse 14. Yes, sir.
Ecclesiastes chapter 49, verse 15.
14.
14. But upon the earth was no man created like Enoch.
Why?
For he...
It'll explain. Go ahead.
Well, the reason why, because when you read all through the scriptures, when you read in Genesis, it said he walked with the Most High. Like, what it was showing was that his devoutness to the righteousness. He stayed devout no matter what to wisdom and to the commandment. So he was a faithful man. He didn't stray off of the commandment. I mean, there's not too much that's written about Enoch, right? There's not too much that's written about Enoch, but when the scriptures say a man walked with the Most High, I mean, damn. Come on. It don't really say it about too many men in the Bible. I don't think it says that about any other men in the Bible. It says that some men were the friend of the Most High, right? It says the sons of the Most High. But it says a man literally says he walked with the Most High. Think about that. Think about where his mind was. Think about where his faith, his level of faith, his level of commitment to righteousness. That's why I said he pleased the Most High, because he was like, yeah, you basically walking with me. You in the same mind, same judgment as me. Through what? Through the commandments, through wisdom, through knowledge, through the understanding.
God.
Go ahead.
For he was taken from the earth.
Right, go to Hebrews 5. No, you don't gotta go there. You don't have to go to Hebrews. So from Enoch, who do we have after Enoch? So from Enoch, jump back to Genesis chapter 5 and verse 24.
That's as far as you got, right?
No, freestyle. Genesis chapter 5 verse 24.
Genesis chapter 5 verse 24. And Enoch walked with God.
Right.
And he was not, for God took him.
Yeah, listen, the Most High said that Enoch is not even going to taste death. I'm going to just take him. Go ahead.
And Methuselah lived in 180 and 7 years and begot Lamech.
Right, so then from Enoch came Methuselah. And Methuselah lived and begat Lamech. Go ahead.
Methuselah lived after he begot Melech 782 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died.
Right, you gotta see what's going on here, where these men had other children. They had other sons and daughters, but what was it about the ones that were pointing out here? What was it about Lamech, where Methuselah had a bunch of other sons and daughters? What was it about Lamech that Most High chose to bring forth the righteousness through him? Now from Lamech, go ahead, read verse 28.
And Lamech lived 182 years.
What's that? What's your question?
Going back with the scripture saying about the wicked, their time is short. So with the righteous, is that why like Methuselah lived up to 969 years? Does that go hand in hand, or?
Well, no, because not every righteous man lived 900 and something years. You know, when you go into Genesis, watch. It's Genesis.
Or maybe not 900, but for a long period of time.
Well, when you go to Genesis 6 and 3, he said that the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall now be 120 years. So he put a cap.
Okay.
So, yeah, it wasn't that. I mean, think about this, though. Think about this. What does the commandments give us? So it's a yes and no question. It's a yes and no answer. So it wasn't. He didn't say, "Well, I'm gonna make you live longer because you're righteous." But where does longevity come from? It comes from keeping the commandment. Simple as this. I said it earlier. If they was all out there, if Methuselah was out there eating the foul foods, he would have lived till he was about 50. If Noah would have lived, if Adam was eating the foul foods, he would have lived till about 30, right? So the keeping of the commandments is life. The wisdom is life. So if I'm keeping the commandments, I'm keeping myself clean from all defilement. So in turn, what is that going to do? That is going to lengthen my life. It is going to lengthen my life. Now I'm not saying that like not eating the foul foods is going to make you live 1,000 years. No, that's how the Most High had it, right? Because think about it. He came back and capped it in Genesis 6 at 120, but there were still righteous men that, I mean, couldn't they live past 120? But he put that cap on everything. So it wasn't that just because they were righteous, the only reason. But yeah, that had a lot to do with it. What you got?
We're just talking about the same thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, we don't got that. Where we at in Genesis?
Genesis chapter 5, verse 29.
Uh-huh.
And he called his name Noah,
Right?
saying, this saying shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands.
Right. So, check this out. Jump over to Luke chapter 3. Oh, wow. Jump over to Luke chapter 3 real quick. Because the one thing about Luke is, Luke gives us an account of the lineage of Yahushai. It goes backwards, and it goes all the way to Adam. Right? It goes all the way to Adam. Go to Luke chapter 3 and verse. You can start at verse 31.
Con. Luke chapter 3, verse 31.
Right?
Which was the son of Milah, which was the son of Minan,
Uh-huh.
which was the son of Mattatha,
Right?
which was the son of Nathan,
Read.
which was the son of David,
Right, so we know that David was the son of Nathan. Go ahead.
which was the son of Jesse,
Which was the what?
son of Jesse,
Go ahead.
which was the son of Obed, which was the son of Boaz, which was the son of Salom,
Uh-huh.
which was the son of Nason,
Right?
which was the son of Aminadab,
What verse you at?
verse 33,
Go ahead.
which was the son of Aram, which was the son of Ezra,
Right?
which was the son of Phares, which was the son of Judah, which was the son of Jacob,
Which was the son of who?
of Jacob,
So it says in verse 33, which was the son of Judah, and then which was the son of Jacob, right? So now we're dealing with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, right? Go ahead, which was the son of Jacob,
which was the son of Isaac,
which was the son of Isaac, right? So remember, it's going backwards. Go ahead,
which was the son of Abraham,
which was the son of Abraham. Go ahead.
which was the son of Thorah,
Uh-huh,
which was the son of Narcor,
right,
which was the son of Saruk,
right,
which was the son of Ragur, which was the son of Phelek, which was the son of Heber,
which was the son of Eber. It says Heber here, New Testament, Old Testament is Eber, or in the Hebrew, Ibar. Now, what was it about Eber? What was it about Eber that seed came through? Actually, keep going on.
which
Uh-huh.
which was the son of Salah,
Right?
which was the son of Canaan,
Uh-huh.
which was the son of Ephrax,
Arphaxad, right?
which was the son of Sem,
Son of Shem, go ahead.
which was the son of Noah,
Noah,
which was the son of Lamech,
read.
which was the son of Methuselah,
Right, so you see how it did it backwards? Noah, Methuselah, Enoch, Jared, Enos, Seth, and Adam. Read on, watch.
which was the son of Enoch, which was the son of Jared, which was the son of Melel, which was the son of Canaan, which was the son of Enos,
Excuse me, go ahead.
which was the son of Seth,
Right?
which was the son of Adam,
Read.
which was the son of God.
You see that? So when you look at it, that righteous seed came from the Most High, it was chosen. Right? And we're not done. Obviously, we're going to go through and pinpoint more of these men. But just on that point, showing that the righteous lineage, it went all the way from Adam. Think about it, it went all the way from the Most High, Adam, all the way to Yahushua.
God.
All the way to Christ. Because when you read Luke chapter 3 and verse 23, read that.
Luke chapter 3,
I know I'm jumping a little bit, but read that.
verse 23. And Yahushua himself began to be about 30 years of age, being as was supposed the son of Joseph, which was the son of Heli.
Right, being the son of Joseph, as it was supposed, because let's not be naive. We took records. There was public record of births and whose son was what. They knew that he was the son of Joseph. It wasn't no, is he, let's make a guess. No, they knew that he was the son of Joseph. And then why, think about it. Why would it even give him a lineage if he wasn't?
God.
If he was, if it really came down to Yahweh Shai just being the son of God, it would have cut out this whole lineage. Most High is not the author of confusion. Right. Just throwing that in there. So for those immaculate conceptors, right? If that was the case, it would have just said, and Jesus being the son of God. The end. Read.
Verse 24, which was the son of Mattel.
Right, so you see where it's talking about Yahweh Shai's lineage all the way back to Adam. Adam being a son of the Most High, being a son of God. And that righteous seed being chosen through him. Right, so let's jump into, we talked about Enoch. Let's deal with Noah. Let's deal with Noah. So, what was it about Noah? Where you at?
Ecclesiastes chapter 44, verse 17.
Ecclesiastes chapter 44, verse 17. Noah was found perfect and righteous. In the time of wrath, he was taken in exchange for the world.
See, read it from the top.
Noah was found perfect and righteous.
Why was he found perfect and righteous? Class?
Kept those commandments.
Because he was keeping the commandments. He had his great grandfather for an example. He had the oral tradition that was passed down to him from generation to generation to generation to generation. Seth was what? 7 generations past, right? Yeah, so you got it all the way down to what was it? Methuselah before him, right? Methuselah, and he was talking to Noah. He was teaching Noah these things. That's why he was perfect and righteous. Go ahead.
In the time of wrath, he was taken.
And what was that time of wrath? That time of wrath was when that flood came. He was found righteous. Go ahead.
Was taken in exchange for the world.
He was saved during that time of destruction. Go ahead.
Therefore was he left as a remnant unto the earth when the flood came.
Because him and the rest of his family were the only ones to survive that global flood. Because of his righteousness and his obedience in the word, in the wisdom, and walking in the wisdom and following the commandments, that's what saved him and his family's life.
Go to 1 Peter 3:20. Watch. How do we know? Go to 1 Peter 3:20. Because even after, well, hold that real quick. Go to go to 2nd Ezra 3 and verse 11. Second Ezra 3 and verse 11. You gotta see the one thing about these men, the character of these men was to continue in the greatness of the Most High. The character was to always do according to the law. Read where you at.
2nd Ezra chapter 3 verse 11.
Uh-huh.
Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men.
Read, let me see here. And it could pass on everything. Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Verse 12. And it happened that when they had dwelt upon the earth, began to multiply.
Read verse 11 one more time.
Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah with his household.
Read it slower. It said, one of them thou left. Because we know the flood took everybody. Right? We know the flood took left one. Think about it. He left one man. Go ahead.
Noah with his household, of whom came all righteous men.
Of who came all what?
Righteous men.
Why were they all considered righteous? Because Noah taught them. Noah taught Shem and Ham. The one thing that we got to realize is that the filthy Hamites that you call filthy Hamites, they weren't always blood-drinking pea faces. They weren't always getting peed on and drinking blood and doing filthy.
God.
At one time, they were righteous. Why? Because Noah taught his sons. Then obviously through time they went off. But Noah taught his sons. That's why they were all saved. And then obviously that righteous line came across through who? Through Shem. But Noah took the time to teach his children. You finished that?
God.
Now this is in the Josephus because we're going over Noah, right? It's chapter 3 and verse, chapter 3.
Book
1.
Yeah.
Chapter 3, section 2, number 75. It said, now God loved this man. It's talking about Noah. It said, but now God loved this man for his righteousness.
For his what?
For his righteousness.
Go ahead.
Yet he not only condemned those after those other men for their wickedness, but determined that to destroy the whole race of mankind and to make another race that should be pure from wickedness and cutting short their lives.
So you see the Most High's whole plan was to bring forth righteousness by any means necessary. Yeah. He cut off a whole planet. He cut off the whole human race and said, you know what, I'm going to use you, Noah, because you're the only righteous man in the earth. So he picked Noah. After, that was after Methuselah, right?
God.
After Methuselah came Noah. Because after Methuselah, then Noah came. Noah had his sons, but the earth, think about it, there's men being created all through the earth. There's different seeds and different lines being created while the righteous seed is still being brought forth. Most High was like, wait a minute. And we know because the earth got exceedingly wicked, right? Right. As we read in Genesis 6, it got very, 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 very filthy. So it's time to clean up. You got more? More?
I do.
Go ahead, read it.
This is number 76, same section. It says, and thus were all these men destroyed, but Noah alone was saved. For the Most High suggested to him the following contrivance and way to escape, that he should make an ark of 4 stories high, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits broad, and 30 cubits high, according as he entered into the ark, and his wife.
So what? So what was that showing about Moses? Because we know he built the ark, right?
God.
What did it show about Moses? Noah.
Oh.
Wow. It showed what?
Obedience.
It showed that Noah had obedience. I always want to say Moses. That Noah was obedient to the Most High. What else?
That faith.
He was faithful. I mean, let's be real. Had it ever rained on the earth? It never rained on the earth at that time. So, for somebody, for the Most High to come and say, "Listen, build an ark, because I'm going to rain it down to where there's destruction and everybody's going to die," and for him to not be like, "Nigga, you crazy? I'm not doing that." Or for him to say, "You know what? I'm going to actually do that, and I'm going to build that for 100 years." It showed a level of faith. Go to Hebrews real quick. Go to Hebrews 11. Yeah, you know why I said Moses? Because I read it right here by faith, Moses. Come on. Go to Hebrews 11 and verse 7.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 7. By faith, Noah.
By what?
By faith.
Come on.
Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear.
Whoa. He ain't never seen no rain, but he did what?
Moved with fear.
He moved with fear. He moved with respect. He moved with order. He moved with a purpose. Go ahead.
Prepared an ark to the saving of his house.
Come on.
By the which he condemned the world.
Check this out. Read.
And became heir.
He became what?
Heir.
Come on.
Of the righteousness which is by faith.
Yeah, he became heir to righteousness, man. He became the prince of righteous.
God.
He became heir to that throne of righteousness. And now it was just up to his 3 sons to be what?
Righteous.
To be righteous. What's that?
I just kind of want to add to the obedience of Noah.
Oh yeah, what you got?
When you read like more in Genesis, it
Read.
talks about like how intricate the ark was.
Yeah.
And how he had to go through all those different details of the ark, but that was all coming from the Most High. Like you have to build it this way. You have to use this wood. You have to go do this and have these animals in there and pair them up with that. So it took a level of discipline and obedience and fear to do all that.
Yeah, just like if you go to filled with violence, even if you go to where's it at? Where he told him. Oh, go to Genesis 7. Real quick, just on that point. Go to Genesis 7 and verse 7.
Genesis.
Verse 6.
Genesis chapter 7 verse 6.
Uh-huh.
And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth.
Go ahead.
And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood.
Right.
Of clean beasts.
Of what?
Clean beasts.
How did Noah know what was a clean beast?
Commandments.
He had the commandment. He kept the commandments. Go ahead.
And of the beasts that are not clean.
Uh-huh.
And of the fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth.
Right.
There went into 2 and 2 unto Noah in the ark, and the male and female.
Yeah. What if he didn't follow the order and just took all males? Would nothing be reproduced? If he just said, you know what? The hell am I gonna take these damn women? They all wicked. What am I taking these female animals for? We ain't got space if they give birth. Right? What if he would have just conjured up his own way of doing things? Then what? We'd be missing animals, man. There won't be no giraffe. Cats wouldn't have pit bulls, right? You wouldn't have your little fishies. All that. You wouldn't have your certain birds. Come on, man. Like, Noah was obedient. So obedience is better than sacrifice. Noah was obedient to what the Most High wanted and the order and the structure that he gave him. Where we at?
Verse 9.
Uh-huh.
As God
That's
has
it on that.
commanded Noah.
That's it on that. Go back to Hebrews real quick.
Hebrews.
That was a very good point you brought out, sis.
11 verse 7.
Uh-huh.
By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear,
Right.
prepared an ark to the saving of his household, by the which he condemned the world.
Right. The whole world was condemned because of their wickedness and his righteousness. Go ahead.
And became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
Right. So y'all understand that, right?
God.
Go to it's written different. Let's see here. What time is it? 10-2. Listen, we'll hold it right there. We're going to hold it right there. And that way when we continue, we can continue into Shem, Eber, Abram. We can continue into these men. So we'll hold it off right there. So we know we got to pick up next class on Shem. And from Shem, we're going to go all the way up. Khan?
Khan.
Any questions?
La.
Any questions in class? Yeah, I mean, real basic, straightforward class. Again, for those of you online, we thank you for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe to this page. This is going to be the new, until further notice, this is going to be the live stream page for the ISBHPK. Okay, YouTube, they shut down our main page. They don't like the content. They don't like the fact that we're bringing out the truth. They don't like when we speak up against certain things. So what they do, they went back a few years ago and flagged one of our old videos from like 8 years ago or 5 years ago, however long it was. They flagged it because it was dealing and talking about, you know, going in on them homosexuals. I'll use that word. They don't like that, apparently. Apparently YouTube is against you when you speak out against homosexuality. They block your videos, they take the video down. So for now, until further notice, we're going to fight it, obviously. But for now, until further notice, this is the, yeah, you're right, they are the devil. This is going to be the page that we're using. So let's get the word out. Like, share, subscribe. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend. That way we can continue to get this word out. And I think what we're going to try to do also is download and upload to the other page. We can do that at least. We can upload to the page. We just can't go live. So you might see the same video in 2 places. All right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, nobody has any questions online on the class, off the topic? Nothing? All right, so what we'll do, we're going to end it there. We definitely thank y'all for joining us. We will be back here on this channel on Friday from 6 to 9. Okay? 6 to 9 p.m. for the Sabbath. Then we'll be back again Saturday morning Sabbath from 10 to 2. All right? So if there's nothing else online and nothing else in class, we're going to say shalom. Go ahead and salute them online.
Shalom!
Jesus is real, but you devils taught lies on Christ. So many lies that when we come with the truth, people think that the lies is the truth and that the truth is the lie.
Who changed the truth